see in the description, I'm going to be changing out my streamer PC. This is my current streamer PC. I'm going to be changing it out, and one of the things, as I mentioned in the description, is basically it's for aesthetic, because this is a plastic panel. It's an acrylic side panel, which I don't like. Plus, also, it don't have a PSU shroud, and this case was only temporary. This case actually started off its life as another system, and then it was then swapped over when I changed out the case on the other system. So I'm going to be swapping this out, and I'm going to put it into an AVP Opus case, and I'll just get that for you, and we'll have a look at it. I'm going to review it before I put it in. So let me just get it up. This is the case I'm going to be using. Not been opened yet. Let me just get this out of the way a second. And I'm going to review this case. I'm going to take the parts out of that case. We're going to be putting it into this. So let me just get a cutting tool. Just get the cutting tool, and then we'll get right into it. So, like I said, this is an Opus case. It's from AVP. On my daily, it's the same brand case, AVP, but that was a Hexa. That's the one where you've seen the LED running down the front with the LED fan. This is not LED. With an LED. In fact, I don't even think it comes with any fans, so I maybe haven't put my own fans in it. I did have the specs of it written down somewhere, but just not brought it out. Just not brought them out with me. I've actually decided to do this on spec. I hadn't planned to do this today, but I thought, you know what, I've got nothing better to do. I'll actually go and swap out my kit in the case. So let's have a look at it. So let's have a look at this. So, bottom mounted PSU is what I like. PSU shroud, we'll have a look at it. Again, it does have a dust filter, but the dust filters I don't like. Now remember, we've got bottom down facing PSU, so you will need to keep this fan out. This is on my desk anyway, so it won't get as bad as if it was on the floor, because my floor is carpeted, even though I do have a plinth that I actually put PCs on the floor. So I've actually got another PC down there on the floor, which is in the box. It's not open. It's my programming PC, which now and then I take out and do bits on it. But in the meantime, I keep it in the box till I've not actually finished totally rearranging my my setup yet in the office. You've seen that. But anyway, as I say, this is the case. Now, right from the outset, let's have a look. We've got a top dust filter, yeah, and I can see that it can take fans. I don't actually think this will take water cooling at the top. I can't see no adjustment holes for water cooling. That's usually how you can know when these are designed to take AIOs. It probably can, a single 120 fan type AIO. So we've got a fan there. We've got, this is tempered side glass panel, whereas my other one at the moment, my current one is acrylic, which is another reason why I am changing it out. Acrylic looks horrible. It's harder to clean. It looks horrible if it gets scratched and that. Glass is a lot better. Looks a lot better. Let me put this somewhere so we don't break it. Okay, at the moment the front is protected by that. I'll leave it at the moment. So let's have a look. So as you see, we've got PSU shroud, so the shroud will go in there. The standoffs for an ATX motherboard, which this is, which mine is, are already in place. Obviously, we'll line those up to check. Got an we've got IO shield get there, and these PCI covers are the breakout ones, so they don't actually stay in, so you have to break them out. But being a tech, I've already got spare PCI covers that I can slot in. So should I use any of these and then later on change out my hardware, and then find I've got an open slot, I can actually cover it up because I've actually got PCI slot covers. These are breakout ones, which means once they break out, they can't go back in. There's nowhere to reattach them. So that's one of the downside. Okay, looking on the top of the system, because again this is like a budget case, it has the same flaws and the same gripes and the same dislikes that I like, that I dislike on most of the cases, and it's the fact that now manufacturers, to cheap out on the case, what they do is they give you 2 USB 2s and 1 USB 3. I would prefer that they give me 2 USB 3s and a Type C, simply because USB 3 is backward compatible with USB 2. So I don't see why they're giving you 2 USB 2 when things are moving forward now to USB 3. Yeah, things are moving forward to USB 3. They should give you USB 3. They should give you USB 3. So I do believe that this standard should change, and I'm hoping that moving forward that manufacturers realise and change that out. So give me 2 USB 3s, a Type C, because USB 3s are backward compatible with USB 2. I don't need to have 2 USB 2s. I'd sooner have 2 USB 3s. So give me 2 USB 3s and nothing at all, or USB 2, because that there, I might have mentioned it before. You see how you've got a blanked out gap over here? That's another USB connection point, and believe it or not, though they've just given me 1 USB 3 there, it actually take the header for it actually takes up 2 USB 3s. Yeah, you can actually connect 2 USB 3s to it, so they've actually done me out. So that there should actually be another USB 2. So they should just put 2 USB 3s there, 2 USB 2s there if they're going to do that. But like I said, USB 3 are backward compatible with USB 2 flash drives, so there's no need for that. Give me 2 2s and a Type C, because Type C is becoming more and more the norm, which you'll see on more mid-range priced to high price points cases. So that's the difference. So that's still a gripe, and that's still what they're doing. But unfortunately, they're going to cheap out on parts. So that's how they're always going to cheap out. So you're always going to miss out on that. But that's something you should consider depending on the type of build you're going to do. But like I say, this is mainly a business build, and in my other one, as you'll see, I've got an add-in card with 4 USB 3s. So it's to me, it's not really going to matter. And I say this is going to be a streamer PC. So that's looking at that. Let's take off the other side. Let's take off the other side and have a look at that. The screws for the thumbnails for the back side are quite distinguishable because they're slightly bigger than the ones for the glass. So if you look at that, you see the height of that? Yeah? You see? So the sizes you can tell straight away. So you know that these two, and there's only 2 of them, are for the rear panel. Yeah, because they're quite high in the height as compared to the 4 for the glass, which are narrower. So there you can see. So straight away looking at that, you can tell straight away which is which. Okay. So there's no chance of crossing it. Well, there is a chance of crossing them all, but you shouldn't do it in theory. So let's take this off, and then let's see what we've got behind here. Now, I'm not taking the plastic off yet, of the glass, because I'm not ready to do that. I'll do that last. So here's our bag of screws. So you can see about that header there, which is for the USB 3, actually is for 2 ports. So they should have put me 2 ports on there instead of blanking out a port. So they've actually done me out of things. So that's a bit cheap. That's a bit cheapskate of them. But like I said, I've had this with the other case that I've got with my current case. But if you're wondering how it comes I'm streaming at the moment, it's because I've briefly set up the OBS software on my daily. Yeah, on my daily PC, and just briefly put the settings in for my OBS to go through to my channel, and that's how I'm streaming at the moment. That's how I'm streaming live. because like I said, I would normally be streaming off the PC, but I want to show you the upgrade system, the upgrade path I'm taking. So here's all my cables. It's not, because this doesn't have a lot of cables, it doesn't have any LEDs or, you know, the lights, no LED strips. I've just got my front panel cable, so the actual channeling at the back of here is quite adequate, and I'm not putting in sort of like any extra. I'm not putting in extra lights in or anything like that. All I'll be doing is, it comes with no fans, so I will be putting my fan in. I will be putting my fans in, because as I say, it does run, my system does have a discrete graphic card in it, because the processors I use do not have graphics in them. So let's get the front off. Now the front normally comes up like, there we go. Quick tug of the front. So I just need to feed these out. Feed these out. Comes out. So it comes through in there. And put that safely. So now we're down to the bare metal. It still does feel quite, it's still quite sturdy actually. I'm quite surprised, because normally once you take the sides off, you take the fronts off, and you twist these. Look, it's quite steady. That's just me. Look, it's quite sturdy. It's not going anywhere. Okay, so that's my bag of screws. That's the case basically in general. It does have a drive here. Now, does this drive remove? It does, which I'm glad about. It's simply because of my power supply. My power supply is a fully modular power supply. So I've just used the cables I need, which I'm going to put in there in a moment. But I just, oh good, it does move over. So it will move over slightly bit more to the other side, because I really would like to put those back. The case that I've got at the moment, I've had to take it out and leave it out. So this is my new case. So I think we should start getting things ready for it, yeah? So let's just put that away there for a minute. Put them there. Now we need to bring back our current system. Let me just get a tub here, because I want to separate out the screws that I'll be using. No, it's coming off this case. Don't want to mix them up, because they are quite similar. But this case is a Corsair. Is it 400D? I think 400D, not 4000D. I think it's a 400D. I did back quite a while ago, just before the pandemic started, and so this was before prices of cases started to get ridiculous and stuff. Okay, let's get the glass panel off there. I inadvertently forgot to fish out my like I said, this glass is acrylic. Sorry for the slight delay there. Right, so what I'm doing now, I'm going to be taking off this side panel. I do need to get to everything. I took off the other back panel because I'm going to have to undo obviously the cable management. I'm going to have to snip the cable ties at the back. But let's first, what I'm going to do first is take out disconnect the cables from the motherboard. stuff across. Okay, so let's get that across, let's get that out there, let's get that out there. Just tidy it around here a bit. Okay, take that off. That's acrylic. It is not glass, it's acrylic. See how it bends? Like I said, I bought that prior to the pandemic, but I did not realise it was actually acrylic, because in my haste, last thing you should do is not check, and I didn't really check. I didn't read all the specs properly. In fact, I don't think it said. I just think it said side panel, but I can't remember if it stated whether it was acrylic or not. Now I'm going to my front USB, front panel there. That's a fan. That's a fan. All the front panel connectors. So I've just connected. Right. So I've just now disconnected my front panel connectors. My USB connector. I'm just disconnecting the audio in this corner, which I've just done. There's my 4-port USB 3 card I was mentioning to you that I do have. Yeah, so I've got lots of USB connections because I do use a lot of USB connections. And now I'm just going to connect my 24-pin connector, he says, with gritted teeth. There we go. That's connected. Okay, so that's connected, and we'll just take off the okay. I now have to disconnect my PCIe lock. Let me just get not so much another thing, but the lid for another one. This is just so I can keep these. It's not that I can't find them, it's just that they're harder to find in that. There we go. Over there now. Okay, so that's my PCI lock. Take that off. And I'll take out my that's my 4-port. If you wonder why I'm putting these screws back into this one, because this belongs with this case, and I do actually have screws. The screws that came with this case will be from my other case. I'm just going to find the PCI locks. So, some PCI locks, and some I've one of the reasons why I like to keep these PCI locks covered, if I decide that I want to sell this case, it's nice that whoever's the next recipient, if I did sell it, I probably won't. I'll probably end up using it in another project for somebody. But it just means that it's nice if I did, that they've actually got the covers for the slots and they're not left building the system where there's no slot covers and there's dust getting in and out. It just looks nicer. It just looks more pleasing. I only need 2 here because this is a double slot card. I'll just I just spotted something that concerns me slightly. Just getting okay. I'm just trying to unscrew it even so I don't have... Unscrewing it is not really as important as connecting it. So when you're connecting it, you're going to diagonal, you're going to something like diagonal panel corner to corner to try and keep even pressure on the way down. That's so that you get, you get an even balance of pressure going down onto the CPU until you lock out at the springs. When you lock out the springs, don't over tighten. Anyway, here I'm just undoing. I'm hoping this back plate doesn't fall off. I've got a feeling it's going in. Oh well, it looked like it was evenly pressed down, which is good. I will have to, now normally, I wouldn't normally really bother be thermal pasting it, but I am going to, because I can, because it's my system, and because I want to. Yeah, because I can, because I want to. Right. Okay, guys. So, where are we up to now? Yeah. I'm just going to quickly. I don't want to get this thermal compound all over everything, especially over my hands and all over everything else, because it is a nightmare to clean off. I will use isopropyl alcohol to clean up the rest of that in a minute. What I want to do now is just get this board out and the I/O shield, so we can prepare to insert into the new case. So just find this. And then we'll That's a bit of a surprise there. Now I will also be, I think, transferring the. No, these are. Is the RF fan? No, I put that fan in there. So we'll be taking this fan out. Okay. Wires are just hanging on a bit. So there we go, that's the motherboard out. So we've still got our, there's my storage, so that's 64 gigabytes of RAM there. Yeah. That's my boot media, that's my storage media. Yeah, that's why I don't have a lot of cables. So let me just put this down somewhere a second. Right, now I will need to remove this fan. No, I'm sure I did have the original. No, the same as well. Okay. And then we need another one for there. So that's the board out, and we've replaced the PCI covers. And now we'll replace the PCI lock. And these are from out of here, yes. So now we replace the PCI lock. That's now this, of course, this will be used for another project. Now, what I'm going to do is actually remove this rear case fan, because this is going to go into the other case. Yep, so remove this case fan. And this is that one that you see, always blue. It's just a blue case, just a blue case fan. It's just a blue case fan, so it glows blue when it's on. So that's that. So that's your case fan out. That's it. This is a PWM case fan. It's a 4-pin. Right. So power supply is also to come out. As I said, this is a fully modular power supply. Okay. There's my IO shield. We need that. Now let's get the power supply out. So we'll now unclip all our cable ties. And we'll get our out. So now cable management. Making sure you don't snip your cables, otherwise you render your PSU useless. Now also in here, that is the connection for my LED strips, which are running in here. So we'll take these out. Well, actually use the glue on it, use the sticky on the back. So reuse those. So let's take the power supply out. Let's unweave these cables. Okay, comes the 24 pin. This should be off the case actually, so I'm not sure that's going to be. Totally required. There we go. And next, let's pull this back through here. Oh, I've got the EPS cable to disconnect as well, which is up the top. That should be EPS. Okay, press the EPS cable down. And through. Okay, let's just take the just take the 24. Let's just take the graphics cable through. There we go. Okay, so that's our PSU out. As you can see, it's a modular. I'll show you here. Modular PSU. And what that means is you only need the cables that you require. Only the cables that you require do you need to plug in. So that's why I don't have all these in, because I've got no SATA plugged in or anything. As you can see, my storage drive, my OS drive and my storage drive are actually on board in the form of M.2 drives. So that is that. Now let's do the transplant. Now we need to take out our second LED strip, which is running up the back. So we need to remove that. I'll just tell that on with a bit of double-sided pad, just so it doesn't hang down into the case. So I'll just put that out of the way for a second. And now we're going to... These two fans originally came with a case. So that's that. I'll leave those in. I'll stick these inside. I won't retie them or anything for now, because obviously you don't know what's next on the agenda for that. Right, put this case back on. Okay. Larger thumbnail for the rear panel, and then obviously we've got the four shorter screws for the acrylic panel. Put our acrylic panel in. Put the acrylic panel in. Right. Now let's align this board. see what doesn't fit. So I'm just dry fitting, just for a look. Okay, and everything is on spec, and I just need a plastic standoff. The one that we're going to have issue with. Okay, so the audio port's always down towards the bottom. So if you stand the case up, the other ports always go down towards the bottom. Now it's probably easier to actually lie it down and do it. Each to their own. I find lying it down tends to be a bit more fruitful, simply because I'm using gravity and I've got the whole length of the shield in an orientation which is easier to work with. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, so there you go. That's the top of the case, that's the IO shielding, the IO ports are at the bottom. Feel all the way around. Good. So I think we've lost quite a bit of room on this, which is good. For me. This is what I want. I want the streamer to be more compact. Okay, so now we'll put our board on. Now, remember what I said, this is a part where you should take great care. But right now, I'm going to, just hold this a second, I'm going to just clean that up before we apply thermal paste, which will be done after. Isopropyl alcohol. Isopropyl alcohol. go. That will do, I think. Then I'll just do the bottom of the IHS afterwards. Well, this is the IHS. I'll do the bottom of the heat sink afterwards. Before we apply new thermal. So I'll keep that out a second. Need that. Keep those out a minute. Okay. I'm not putting thermal on yet because put this back into the case. Okay. So now, as I said before, check that it lined up like this. What you've got to be careful now when you're putting these in, you're going to watch these grounding straps on the I/O shield that it doesn't foul any of these ports. So this is the part now when you're putting this in. Take your time, just do it right, do it once and do it right. That's all you have to do. Yeah? So take your time, line it up correctly, do it once, do it right. Yeah? Oh, it's looking absolutely great. Okay. Now that was the screws for the. What's the screws for there? No, that was the screws for the. Like the screws for the other case actually, wasn't it? Not. The screws for this case is here. That's the screws for the other case. Now I should really put those screws. What I'm going to do afterwards, I won't do it now. I'll do this first. What I'll do, I'll put these screws back into the standoffs of that other case that took off, because that's the screws for that case that came with that case, and they fit the standoff. If I put them in the standoffs, they're already there. I could put them in a Ziploc bag and put them in the case, but chances are that I might actually lose them. But if I could end up losing that or misplacing it, or not finding it when I need it. If I put them into the standoff themselves in the case, then they're there, aren't they? So when I open the case up, there's my standoff. So have a look at that. So let's get some scissors. Now let's cut this open. Okay, so now what I'm doing, standoff screws. This looks like them. So I'll try one of these first in an easy location, and if it fits, yeah, that's it. So it's the ones with the got ones with the shoulders and ones without shoulders. Let me just try something. Just want to see. No. Okay, so that's not okay. No, I know what I've got. It's the ones with the shoulders. I just like, because sometimes I have found in the past, I have had some, mind you, not this case, I have found in the past that with some cases, you've got two sets of screws, one with shoulder, one without, like I've just tried now, and both sets will actually go into the standoffs. So you don't actually know if you're using the right ones or not. But that was with that. I mean, that was previous in the past in some of the older case setups. Most of these modern ones now, they seem to have the standoff screws are only fitting the standoffs, but you've got to be careful, because you will find these anomalies sometimes. And although you might think it's not always alright to use the wrong screws and the wrong hole. And this is one of the reasons why I wanted to, because I've just okay, I was just checking out everything's pans out. Okay, so now, right, there's the boarding. So I've already got my board, my memory, and I've got my CPU, the memory, and my storage for both my OS and my storage, my data in. It's on the board. Next, now we need to insert our PSU. Fan down. Still fairly clean, as you can see. Fan down. Okay. I'm going to stick to the fan that came with a PSU, which are these. These are the PSU fans. So I'm going to stick with them. it's just that this cable has just been a bit of a. There we go. There we go. Just had to manoeuvre it. No, I could tell. I could tell by looking at the things at the top that it was able to get in. It was just a case of getting it in. 8 pins. There you go. So I've just connected the fan. I've just reconnected the fan, and I will just secure that down. Okay. Okay, so we are now got our rear fan installed, power supply installed. I've got my EPS connector on, and now it's just a case of am I going to replace those? Yeah, I probably will. Okay, so we've got CPU fan up there. Okay. Right, there we go. That's in. So the EPS is 24 pin in. I'm not starting to connect any front panels and such yet. That's for my graphites card, which will need to come up through here. See, on the other case, it came through the I'm just looking at, there we go. No, I'm just running it in such a way that will have the effect I want. There we go. That's the EPS. So now I'm not going to cable manage yet until I've got everything the way I want it. But we need to push some of this cable back through. Okay, that keeps that out of the way. Okay. Now let's graphics card up, these two. I said these are not replaceable, so that's why I have these others. And we'll get our graphics card in now. And now to install the Elgato card, Camlink. I need to see, I think this is just a single slot, however, I just need to check clearance for the USB expansion card so I can get it in. Yeah. Okay. Right, so the difficulty getting that out, only because I went opposite to what I normally go, but there you go. Right, so we're all back in now. So, on the final stretch, he says, so basically that's just to upgrade to my streamer. Why won't that go in? What is stopping that from going in? You know, these screws are made, this is the actual screw for this machine, but it don't seem to want to do anything. It seems to want to give me a hard time. Okay. There we go. USB back in, and I don't think I'm actually going to bother with the, or am I? I don't want to bother with those strips. And I'm probably not. Probably not. I might look at it after. Right, let's get the panel back on now, and let's get these. Let's get these front and binnacle wired up. panel back on, wires through, and we'll start wiring to our front umbilicals. So what we've got here, let's see where our audio is. This looks like audio, isn't it? No, it's USB. So, USB. It's for aesthetic, and it's also a smaller footprint on the worktop as opposed to that one. That's what I'm looking at. Like I said, I'm going to put those screws back in the motherboard of that other case after I've done this. I'll do that off camera, I won't do that on camera. Right, so which USB 3 has been over here. Okay. Okay. Right, so let's get this. What did I say this was? This was not ordered, this was front USB. So I want that under there. And through there. Front USB. And then the cable management. See how it goes. If I'm not wrong, this should be audio. And it is HD audio. So this needs to go to the back. So round behind. No, let me get out of the way for a moment. Round behind. HD audio on down this end, so it's right down here. Here we go, right down this end. See, there it is come through. The reason I just pull it out is just I'll put it in slightly skew-it. There we go. Well, I'll put it in behind the bigger cable. The cable can just hold that down, that's all. I'm just rerouting the cable so they look a lot neater. Don't interfere with space. I'm just going to let's see. Okay, guys. I'm just going to. Now it is a bit dark in here, so I just need to see, because this is a blanking spot. I just need to see where that blank is, and that blank is down the bottom, so it has to go that way. HD audio. Let me make sure that's front audio. Yeah. One at the bottom, second to bottom. Yeah. Because this is not keyed, it's only keyed in the sense that of the pins in the plug. They go a certain way. There's one spot where there's no pin. The pins, the plug's blanked out. You have to make sure it's the right way. Okay, HD audio, and I said this was front USB. Front USB one. So we again plug, and it's at the top there. The plug, there's a blank plug there. It's blanked off. And the plug there, it's blank. The plug is blank there, yeah, and then there's a blanking spot in the case there, front USB 2, which is this top right up here. It's the top right up here. There's actually two USB. That's number one. That's number two, and the blank off is up there, and that's where that's going to go. So that's what you got to look for. And as I said, unlike some of the other plugs that are keyed, this isn't keyed, so you've got to feel by the blanking plug, the blanking spot on the plug. It's keyed by the way the plug's done, by the way the plug's constructed. Okay, so that's USB on, HC audio on, and really all I've got is the fine wire. Now I've got a USB 3 as well, USB 3.0, which is there. Now this one is keyed, it's that blue plug, it's this one. Now you see that is keyed because it's got a little raised area on there, a little lub on there. Yeah. There. That's a little lub, and that's a keyed area, and this goes into this port here, and that's got a key at the front area here, just there where my finger is. There's a little cutout in the plug surround, so that's where that goes. So that's going to go in there. So we just got to route that. We'll see. We'll strategize. Okay. So I'm just going to hook up these front panels now down here. So down here, my resetting power. And the sun's just glaring in my eyes a bit here now, so a little bit awkward. I've just got a little bit of awkward stuff to deal with, awkward sunshine. There we go. Okay, so just I'm now staring into the sun. I can't see a thing. HDD LED. There's a plus to the edge, so that goes. Plus, so that goes down there. I've been blinded by the light. I'm actually going to. Okay, that's HDD LED. And next to that should be the reset. If we have got a reset on this. Do we? Yes, we do have a reset. Reset. Leaving it here. Select store. That will be the power switch above that, and we got the HDD LED if we have one. Power switch lives above him, and the HDD LED or the power LED. That's basically the front umbilicals. to get a little bit creative with my cables, tidy it up a bit. So we're more or less, the process is more or less done, apart from booting up, getting the Elgato set up. Because don't forget, this is still the same. It's still the same hardware with the addition of the Elgato card. It's just a different case. And as I said in the description, it's just for a little bit of aesthetic. I.e., it's a smaller footprint on the table. It's a nice looking case because it's got a glass panel, which is nicer to clean than that acrylic. Yeah, and just basically it gives me a bit more room on my table for, you know, when I'm doing projects work. So you see what's going on, and by having the capture card in, you know, you can get better shots because I can actually hook up to the system that I'm going to boot up or I'm working on, that I'm repairing, you know, once everything's up. And you can actually see it, so you're not seeing, I'm not having to point a camera at a screen which gives off glare, and of course the angle doesn't always make for best viewing. And the way my room is, the way the sun comes in, the way my office is, the way the sun comes in at certain times, it's a more hindrance than help. Like just now I've had to, while doing those front connectors, I've just had to close the blind a bit just to keep the sun out, because it was right direct in the eye line and it was actually dazzling me. I can now reopen it. There you go. You can now reopen it. You can see where it's casting its shadows. But when I was down there looking in, it was coming in directly into my eye line, so that's why I had to close it a bit. But we're back up now. So now I'm just doing some aesthetic with the cables here. And I'm not done them all super tight yet. I'm not locked them all right down, because I just want to see if I've got to move any cables around or shorten, lengthen, you know, pull cables back through here. You know, I mean, it's all looking fairly decent, I know. It's all looking good. It all looks good. So I think I can, with what I've got here. Right. Not bad manage, huh? It's bad. You don't. You just come and grab it. I fucking got that, put that in there from Tesco. I bought that. Okay. So that's the front umbilicals cabled. Cables kind of routed and sorted. Kind of routed and sorted. So the reason why I just had to cut that one off is because it's actually missed a cable. I thought I'd got the cable, but obviously I'd missed it. It hadn't gone through because I've got these into route. You see, this here is like just the front umbilicals. If you look, you can't see because I've got the camera in a position that you can't. But at the moment, what I'm doing, front umbilicals are these thin wires sorted. I'm not locked these in because these I've got to route it in such a way. So I am just sorting the front umbilicals out. So I've got those in a separate loop. They're in their own loop, front umbilicals. Now this has got to come in here because, if I'm not wrong, that USB 3 is there. It needs to be a gentle curve, so just put that in there for now. There you see the sun, you see this effect of me as I move across the sun and the camera hits the camera. You see that glare? That's me moving across the wind of the sun being the way it's coming in. That's why you're getting that weird effect on the screen. It's not you, there's nothing wrong with your PC. It's just the sun coming in on the camera. Let's readjust that a bit. Okay. Yeah, I'm on doing a bit of cable management. I really should do this off camera. You don't really see this, but I'm just doing this to tidy things up a bit. This is back panel. Let's like that. Mine's peel. No, that is plastic. It's not tempered glass. That is plastic, but the side is tempered glass. Okay. So we've got everything up and connected. Kits with LEDs that we'll build, we'll display them on the top. You know, because you can see inside. You'll be able to see inside. That's why I want it looking aesthetically as pleasing as possible. Obviously, you know, you're never going to get everything all the way. I suppose I could invest in custom cables, but I don't want to because it's too expensive. And for what I'm doing, I don't really think I need to do that. I don't really think it's viable for me. That it's not really something I need to go into, if I'm being honest. So, right, ready for this side panel to go on. Let's see if we've done a good job and we don't need no. See if we do a good job. See if that goes on. See how that goes on. Okay. Then you need to secure that down, and then your glass. Now you use your glass cleaner to clean off the glass. Give everything a good rub down. So at the moment, So it's a smaller footprint. Yeah, the footprint of that's become smaller. So now you've got a small footprint system to work with. And so you shouldn't have too much. That replaces your space. So we now need to put our cooler back on. So now you've got your process on, you need to put your cooler back on, attach your fan back to your cooler. Okay, so we need some thermal material to apply on your CPU. And this is because the surface of the CPU and the heatsink is not totally flat, and there's little irritations in the surface. It's not perfectly smooth, and the purpose of the thermal paste is to fill those little peaks and troughs that you can't see to the naked eye. It looks perfectly smooth to you when you look at it, but it's not. You can't see to the naked eye. And what happens to the thermal paste is once it gets warmed up, it goes very viscous and fills in those voids. So you get perfect heat, you get decent heat transfer between the IHS of the CPU and the heat sink, so that the fan can take the heat away, keeping your CPU cool. So that's why it's important that you have thermal paste on your CPU, aids in the efficiency of the cooling, stops overheating, because when your system overheats, that's when you start getting blue screen, that's when your system starts putting out on you, just shutting off, and you're wondering why, and that's why, because your system's overheating. So it's important to keep your thermal compound, decently applied. You don't overdo it. You don't need to bombard it so it's running into your IHS shield and that, because if it gets into the socket, it will also cause issues there with your CPU. So you just want it so it's just like a thin film across, just enough so you can't see the label of your CPU, but not too thick that it's actually spurting out everywhere, because when it gets hot, I'll say it will get viscous. So there, apply that there now on there. I'll now reapply my heatsink. And once I've done that, I'll attach the fan to the heatsink. That's it, guys. I'm just going to connect up the fan now, and then I'll come back with an additional video when it's sorted. Check it out, guys. So until later, guys. Bye for now. Bye.